Opioids are one of the most commonly used meds to treat chronic pain and other physical illnesses and treat their symptoms, but they're actually pretty dangerous meds, and they're highly addicting. They're very easy to overdose on, and they have very rough side effects like nausea, vomiting, slowed breathing and heart rate, and even death when not used correctly. I think that a safe alternative to this could be medical marijuana, which actually isn't possible to overdose on, and from research has shown many benefits that are just as effective as the opioids are. So I would like to argue that medical marijuana should be legalized for certain medical conditions in the state of Idaho. There was an initiative put into place for the election for 2024 as well as in 2022 to legalize it, and there's a group that's been working on it for 5+ years, but Idaho has a lot of policies against it that have been preventing it. This last year, Congress passed an expungement act that decriminalized it and also removed it from the controlled substance list. So I think that Idaho should take this act into consideration and legalize it, because Nebraska and Idaho are the last two states that have not legalized it. 48 other states have. And that's partially because Brad Little, the governor in Idaho, has strongly advocated against it. But there is a man named Stephen Haidt who is running for governor this election, and he has advocated strongly for it. So I stand with legislators like Stephen Haidt, who advocate for patients' rights to choose. There's usually two sides to this argument, and it's either anti-medical marijuana or pro-medical marijuana. The research on this was pretty disappointing, and it was sad to see how many times this initiative has been attempted to be put into place and have one or two legislators shut it down. And keeping it illegal has prevented research from being done to find how beneficial it is in the healthcare. I work in healthcare myself, and I've personally seen the benefits it has for patients in the system. So I would like to talk about how it is safer than opioids. It will free up jail space and allow people to be rehabilitated with nonviolent drug crimes, and it will bring in a lot of tax revenue for the state that can be used for other issues in the state. So I hope Idaho will choose to receive these benefits in the next election and allow patients to have more options. I think that patients shouldn't have to worry about jail time and be fearful of treating these symptoms with medical marijuana. So I think Idaho should legalize it so that we can have fewer arrests and fewer resources wasted on long jail sentences. The prohibition costs government even more. And Blue Review found that in 2018, there were 663,000 arrests that were associated to marijuana crimes. And out of those, 608,000 were for marijuana possession, which is a pretty high amount. So this is a safer substance than opioids, and it is found to be just as effective in treating the symptoms. So I think the state of Idaho should approve the initiative and follow suit with the 48 other states that have already approved this. The National Library of Medicine found that there was a 25% decrease in deaths from opiate overdose associated with the legalization in the 48 other states. And they also found that it has a very reasonable safety profile. So I think this will be a great substitute for the more harmful substances like opioids. According to the Drug Policy Alliance, drug enforcement in the United States is rooted in racial discrimination. And the first anti-drug laws were established in the 20th century to target immigrants and Black Americans. And they often receive much harsher jail time and sentences than white people do. I think the solution to this would be legalizing this and costing the government less and saving taxpayer money, saving jail debt. There would be fewer arrests, patients could receive relief, and we would fight systemic racism in our country by doing so. I think that this would bring in a lot of revenue, because marijuana is taxed very highly in other states, and they've seen the benefits from the revenue that it brings in, and it can be used to solve other issues in the state. So I think the state of Idaho should legalize it despite opposition's claims, because it's not any more dangerous than alcohol, and it's less addictive, and it's less dangerous long term as a treatment for chronic pain. So Brad Little has historically opposed this every election, and this leaves patients disadvantaged and not taken into consideration of what it could do for them. It helps both physical and mental illnesses, and a lot of patients don't even know that it's an option. Medical marijuana can treat the symptoms for Alzheimer's, ALS, AIDS, seizures, glaucoma, muscle spasms, and it can help relieve the symptoms of cancer treatment, like chemotherapy. The University of Washington also found that it was very beneficial for treating anxiety disorders and PTSD symptoms. So I think a win for both sides would be to take the first step and legalize it for medicinal purposes. And 48 states already have, and I think that we should follow suit. The Cancer Care found that it was very effective in managing some of the worst symptoms of cancer treatments, and it contains anti-inflammatory properties, which are also beneficial in treating the symptoms. It helps manage the pain and nerve damage that is caused by the treatment, and it reduces nausea and vomiting in the patients, and it helps them regain their appetite. So I think that just like any other drug, it has its place in the healthcare system, and when the benefits have been proven with so much research, why should we withhold it from patients that could receive relief? I think the objections are not based on concern for the patient's mental and physical health, but rather just bias and fear of not being educated on the issue. I think the opposition hasn't considered fully the benefits of what it could have. In conclusion, I think the state of Idaho should legalize it and allow patients to receive these benefits, and approve the initiative for 2024, because it's a safer treatment for long-term use. It will have less arrests every year, and patients won't have to live in fear of being arrested for treating their symptoms, and it'll bring in lots of revenue. As someone who works in the healthcare system, I've seen cancer patients use it and bring them the benefits of it, and I hope that the healthcare system would do the same for me if I was ever put in that position. And I think it's sad to withhold more options for our patients. So I hope that the state of Idaho will decide to legalize it this next election. Thank you. Here's my cards.